Okay, I want to share this dream that I had a couple of nights ago. And I say dream, but it was more like an experience. So just bear with me. I'm going to do the best that I can to explain what I saw. Um, so I had just finished reading and going into prayer, and I was about to go to sleep. And as soon as I laid my head on my pillow, I went right into this. And I saw myself leisurely jogging down this narrow path. And on both sides of me, I saw these tall cornfields. And what really amazed me was the fact that I could feel my environment and I could smell, like everything around me felt just as real as it does in this reality. So I'm jogging along, and this thought came to mind, and I say to myself, if a lion comes out of nowhere and starts chasing me, I'm going to outrun it. Like I knew I can feel just how physically fit I was, and I knew that I could outrun a lion. So I continued leisurely jogging, and I just so happened to look over my shoulder, and behind me, I saw not one lion, not two lions, but three. And there were two females and a male. And they're just leisurely running down this path behind me. And immediately, I tense up and I became nervous. I wasn't afraid, but I was nervous because these were lions. And then something really, really crazy happened. I began to ascend. And I didn't go really high into the air. I was just right above their heads. Because at that point, they were right underneath my feet. And they were looking up at me as they were running. And here I was running still. I'm hovering above them and I'm running. I'm running on air. So we get to the end of this path, you know, and as we get to the end, I start to descend. And I got nervous again. I'm like, oh my gosh, these lions are going to attack me. But the lions, they ran right around me. They weren't thinking about me. And that's when I relaxed. I'm like, okay, I'm good. I'm like, that was really weird. And so I saw them run up through a clearing. And so I began to follow them. And as I went to go up through the clearing, I saw to the right of me there is this male lion just sitting there at the entrance of this clearing, to this clearing. And he didn't bother me either. I didn't feel threatened by him. I just walked by him and went through the clearing. So as soon as I got through the clearing, I see this huge hill and this beautiful green grass. And laying on this beautiful green grass on this huge hill are lions. Tons of lions. And they're in groups. And I'm just looking around in amazement. And then this female lion, she walked right in front of me, like right in front of me. And I remembered reaching out to touch her. I wanted to pet her. And then I walked up through these groups of lions. I mean, they were everywhere. And I'm just walking up through them. I wasn't afraid or anything. But I was just looking around in amazement. And then as I walked, something across, like on the other side of the hill, caught my attention. And I saw that it was a beach area and that there were people on it. So I walk over to the beach area and I walk over to the beach area and then I saw that there were people laying down on what I thought was sand, but it was actually snow. And it was a particular group of people. Um, and I'm just going to say it like that. It was a particular group of people. And when I looked to the left of me, I saw a pond. That's what it looked like to me, a pond. And I'm like, what are these people doing in this water? And there's snow on the ground. And what are these people doing laying on snow? This is weird. So I walk and get closer. And, these people, they're having fun, thrashing around, having a good old time. People running in the water and out of the water. And so I'm like, well, let me get my feet wet. So I took my shoes off and I walked over to the water and I put my foot in. And as soon as I put my foot in, it's like my eyes zoomed in the water to see exactly what was in it. And this water was murky and nasty looking. And I saw tadpoles and minnows. And I knew that there was turtles in there and other things. And I quickly snatched my foot out. And I'm like, no, thank you. I like clear water. That's what I said. So I'm walking through this beach and I'm looking at these people like they're crazy because they're laying on snow and they're in that nasty water. And I'm like, let me get out of here. So I walked to the far end of the beach. And when I got to the very end of the beach, it was just weird because the snow ended and then you see this nice green grass. You see these big, beautiful trees, and you see this sun shining through the trees. This beautiful sun just shining through the trees. And I'm like, what is going on here? What is this place? And so I just had this desire to reach down and grab a bunch of snow. And I grabbed the snow because I'm seeing these people laying on the beach. And I'm like, this snow cannot be that cold for these people to be laying on it in their bathing suits. So I grabbed a bunch of snow. And when I grabbed it, the snow was not cold like snow is supposed to be cold. The snow was warm. And I'm like, what the heck? Like, what kind of snow is this? And I dropped it, brushed my hands off. And then the next thing you know, there was a structure up the hill that caught my attention. I say structure because I don't know if it was a house or if it was a building. It may have been a building, but I walked right up the hill and I walked up the stairs to this structure and I opened the door like I knew where I was going. And as soon as I opened the door, I see a whole bunch of people walking around. I see cubicles, and I'm walking down the corridor, and I see offices on both sides. And there were people that were familiar to me, not in real life, but I knew these people, and they knew me. I was saying hey, and they were saying hey back. And I'm walking down the corridor. I get to the very end, and there was it was the last office at the end of this corridor, and I saw a familiar face, and I waved to them, and they waved back to me. So I opened up this door that was in front of me, and as soon as I did, somebody knew that I opened that door, but they said something. I don't. They said something that I didn't understand. They called the door something else. They said, "Oh, somebody opened up." Blah blah blah. So I went through the door, and there was this area, I would say, like where there's a furnace and hot water heater, whatever. And I approach another door. I open that door, and I ended up on the outside of the building. It was like a big long porch on on that side of the building. And there were like maybe, I want to say like 20 people out there. It was nighttime, and they were relaxing, just hanging out, chilling. There were people smoking cigarettes. Um, and so a few familiar faces. So I walked over to a group of girls that were sitting on a step, and I started talking to them, and I started explaining to them how crazy it was that this dream felt so real. Like the place that I was in was so real. And I'm like, am I dead? And it's funny because I say that a lot when Yah gives me dreams like that. The first thing I say is, am I dead? Because of how real it feels. So they looked at me like I was crazy. Like, what, girl? What are you talking about? So we continued conversation. And then all of a sudden, I heard somebody say, we have to put our masks on. And so everyone that was outside put their mask on. I was the only one that didn't have a mask. And they're looking at me like, where's your mask? And I said, I don't need a mask. I'm covered by the blood of Yahushua HaMashiach. So they looked at me like, huh? And then after, a few more minutes, everyone had to leave. They were like, oh, we have to go. So they got up and they left. And I got up and I left. I went back in the building. And there was a girl with me. And so as soon as we, excuse me, as soon as we got through the building, I saw the girl that I saw in the last office before I left out with her boss, and they both approached us. And so I'm telling her boss, I'm like, this is crazy. Like, what is going on? I'm like, what is this place? And I'm like, am I dead? And so she looked at me like I was crazy, like, yeah, okay, whatever. And I noticed that she had like two white envelopes in her hand. And she handed the girl that was with me an envelope. And then she said to me, and this is for you. So I took the envelope, and I saw on the back of the envelope that the monetary amount, these were checks that were being handed to us. And I know that the check that I got was a whole lot of money. So I was like, I said to her, thank you for this Christmas bonus, which I find very interesting because of some things that Yah has been showing me and a few others pertaining to Christmas, this Christmas theme. And I do believe that it has nothing to do with the Christmas season, but it has to do with whatever, like this timeline, whatever his timeline is. I don't know if I'm saying that right, but anyway, but I was just happy to get that check because that was a lot of money. And I know I have never seen that amount of money before in my life. That was a whole lot of money. So the next thing you know, I'm waking up, right? I'm waking up and I'm laying there in my bed and I'm reviewing this dream, like this, no, this experience. And I'm like, wow, that was crazy. That was wild. And I'm like, the check. I'm like, oh, let me look in my pocketbook and see if I still got that check. So I reached for my purse and I went to go look inside my pocketbook and no check. Nope, no check. I'm like, oh my gosh. I said, okay, that's fine, that's fine. But that was a nice dream, and it was nice to receive a big check in that dream. So, there was other things that happened in the dream that's not relevant to what I am sharing with you, but I was still in a dream. I was still dreaming. I had whatever, an experience inside of a dream, and then woke up from that dream, if that makes sense.